So once you were done with identifying the problem or the opportunity and you have a clear understanding across the key stakeholders about the current situation of the project, it's time to conduct the current state assessment. So the second process of the needs assessment knowledge area, and it is also part of the defining and aligning process group, will be assess the current state. And it can be defined as the process of examining the current environment under analysis in order to understand important factors that are internal or external to the organization, which may be the cause or reason for a problem or an opportunity. So in this process, we are going to examine the current environment surrounding the problem or the opportunity which we need to resolve or address. It's either internal or external to the organization. The key benefit of this process is that it provides a sufficient understanding of the existing state of the organization, providing context for determining which elements of the current state will remain unchanged and which changes are necessary in order to achieve the future state. So this process actually is very important as it will support the development of the future state the organization is targeting or the organization wants to achieve. So in order to determine the future state and develop a roadmap of how you are going to achieve this future state, the first step is understanding the current situation of the organization. It's part of the defining and aligning process group. The inputs, tools, and techniques and outputs of this process are shown in front of you right now. We will have 3 inputs, we will have 10 tools and techniques, and we will have 1 key output, which is the current state assessment. The data flow diagram for this process, as shown, we will have inputs from the identify problem or opportunity process, the one we conducted earlier, and the input you will need will be the situation statement. From the enterprise or the organization, you will need the enterprise and business architectures and the organizational goals and objectives. The output will be the current state assessment, which will be used in 2 processes: determining the future state, which is part of the needs assessment, and preparing for the transition to the future state, which is part of the stakeholders' engagement. Now, assessing the current state involves researching and analyzing various aspects of the existing organizational environment to understand a situation of concern or interest to the business. The area of analysis may involve a portfolio, program, or project, a department or business unit within the organization, an aspect of the competitive environment, a particular product, or any number of other areas. All these are examples of the areas of analysis which may be the result of the current state assessment. Various factors can be analyzed, such as the organizational structure, current capabilities, culture, processes, policies, enterprise and business architectures, capacities such as human resources and capital, and external factors. All these are factors which you might analyze as part of the assess current state process. Evaluating the current capabilities of the organization is a significant focus during a current state assessment. A capability is a function, process, service, or other proficiency of an organization, as capabilities enable an organization to achieve its strategy, to achieve the future state or the demand the organization is looking for. So analyzing these capabilities is a key factor of the business analysis activities. Current state assessments are performed to learn enough about the problem or opportunity to adequately understand the situation without the need for conducting a full analysis of requirements. Information about the current state may be obtained through various elicitation methods, such as document analysis, interviews, observation, and surveys. Now, business analysis activities should be focused on analyzing the areas relevant for defining the situation statement and should be careful not to lead to analysis of areas that are out of scope or not helpful for the eventual definition of the future state. So this is the second process you will be conducting. After having the situation statement, you will have the high-level scope or the high-level boundaries of the problem you are trying to solve or the opportunity you want to address. So while you are assessing the current state, consider the situation statement and make sure you will not cross the boundaries of the high-level scope, as this will help you determine the appropriate future state for the organization. Now, what are the inputs we will be using in this process? Starting with the enterprise and business architectures. Enterprise architecture is a collection of business and technology components needed to operate an enterprise. Enterprise architecture is assembled in the form of a schematic or model. Models can be analyzed to understand the strategic and operational impacts that a change will have on various aspects of the enterprise. So the enterprise architecture can be defined as the collection of business and technology components needed to operate an enterprise. So while you are assessing the current state of the situation, it's important to understand what are the business and technology components of this organization. This is defined as the enterprise architecture, while the business architecture is a subset of the enterprise architecture and contains components such as the business functions, organizational structures, locations, and processes of an organization, including documents and depictions of those elements. So the business architecture is part or a subset of the enterprise architecture, containing the business functions, the organization structure, the location, and the processes the organization is using. Enterprise and business architectures are a fundamental input into the current state assessment because they visually and holistically depict different aspects of the enterprise and organizational structures that need to be understood for future business analysis work. So if you understood the enterprise and business architectures, you can think about the importance, or you can realize the importance of understanding these architectures before moving on with the current state assessment. The second input will be the organizational goals and objectives. Organizational goals define the measurable targets that a business establishes in order to deliver on its strategy, while objectives are the statements aimed at directing the actions of the organization to reach its goals. So goals versus objectives. Always think about goals as the long-term achievements or the long-term measurable targets of the organization, while the objectives are statements aimed in order to support achieving these goals. Goals are typically broad-based and span 1 or more years, while objectives will enable goals. They are more specific and tend to be on a shorter term, often with durations of 1 year or less. Goals and objectives provide criteria that are used when making decisions regarding which programs or projects are best pursued. If you are working in an organization or an enterprise, you will never proceed with an opportunity or a project or a program or portfolio without having a clear alignment between this opportunity and the organizational goals and objectives. This is why it's an important input in order to conduct the current state assessment. Existing organizational goals and objectives may be reviewed as part of the current state analysis. Organizational goals and objectives are often revealed in internal corporate strategy documents and business plans. The last input will be the situation statement, which is the key output of the identify problem or opportunity process. It provides an objective statement about the problem or opportunity the business is looking to address, along with the effect and impact the situation has on the organization. The assessment of the current state is compared against the situation statement to determine the impact of a problem or opportunity on the existing organizational environment. So once we have the enterprise and business architectures, the organizational goals and objectives, in addition to the situation statement, we can kick off the assess current state process. What are the tools and techniques you will be using in this process? In this lecture, I'm proposing 10 tools and techniques that you can use while conducting the current state assessment, starting with the business architecture techniques, organizational frameworks available to model business architecture, and each providing different approaches for analyzing various aspects of the business or the organization. These models can serve as checklists, frameworks, or job aids for assessing the current state and can be used to guide strategic decisions within the organization, specifically at the portfolio and the program levels. The second technique you will be using will be the business capability analysis, and it's a technique used to analyze performance in terms of processes, people skills, and other resources used by an organization to perform its work. So as from the name of this technique, we are going to analyze all the business capabilities of the organization, including its systems, the architecture, the human capital, and the all resources. Historical data obtained from analyzing current capabilities are used to understand trends and determine what measures will be helpful guidelines for determining whether a capability is performed as it should be in the current state. So you need to analyze the current business capabilities of an organization. The historical data are used to establish performance standards by which current and future performance is evaluated. In the current state, the objective is to determine a specification by which business capabilities can be assessed and performance measured and monitored on an ongoing basis. In the future state, this specification can be used to establish a benchmark for future performance. We will have also the capability framework tool, which provides a set of descriptions about the key skills, knowledge, behaviors, abilities, systems, and overall competencies of value to an organization. The capabilities analyzed can be for people or products. So the capability framework will provide you with a set of description about all the capabilities, the existing capabilities of the organization. Capability frameworks may include information about physical, financial, informational, or intellectual capabilities. Some capabilities are available because of the availability of assets that support them. Capability frameworks may contain information about the competencies that enable the organization to operate today and may be used as a starting point when performing a gap analysis to identify the capabilities needed to achieve the future state. So again, we'll be using this tool and determining the future state process in order to determine what are the capabilities the organization will need in order to reach its future state. There are many different formats for presenting capability information, and the following tables show two ideas for people and product focused discussions. Here is an example of the capability framework sample format for analyzing people capabilities. So for example, you have the business analyst, the entry level, the intermediate, the senior 1, 2, and 3, and what are the capabilities required for each level of those. This is an example of the capability framework for people, while the capability framework for products showing, for example, the categories to be measured, people, process, and technology, and the different levels of maturity you will be defining for each of these categories. Capability tables are used for analyzing capabilities in a current state or future state. Within future state analysis, the model can be used to display the capabilities needed to solve a problem or seize an opportunity. Now, the technique can be applied to depict the relationship between a situation, its root cause, and the capabilities needed to address the situation. The model can provide an easy way to visualize current problems and associated root causes and the proposed new capabilities or features that, if pursued, could address the problem. Today, different forms of capability tables exist. Here is an example of the capability table, which depicts a relationship between a situation, the root causes of the situation, and the capabilities needed in order to address this situation. So for example, you have problem 1. Here are the root causes linked to this problem, and here are the new capabilities you will need in order to address these root causes and solve this problem. Elicitation techniques that can be used as part of the assess current state process are usually used to draw information from various sources. Information about the current state may be obtained through various elicitation methods, and a few common techniques that are effective during current state analysis are the document analysis, interviews, observation, questionnaires, and surveys. Starting with the document analysis, it's an elicitation technique used to analyze existing documentation and identify relevant product information. Many documents found within an organization can provide relevant information about the current state, such as the training materials, product, literature, standard operating procedures, and or deliverables from past projects. Any document you can look for while conducting the current state assessment might be helpful, might enhance your understanding of the current state of an organization. The second elicitation technique will be the interviews, defined as formal or informal approach to elicit information from stakeholders. Interviews can be scheduled with various stakeholders who possess key information about the current state, such as the users of an existing solution or participants in existing processes where problems have been identified. So conducting interviews with relevant stakeholders again will help you understand the current state. Observations, an elicitation technique that provides a direct way of eliciting information about how a process is performed or a product is used by just viewing individuals in their own environment performing their jobs or tasks and performing processes, and you as the business analyst just need to observe how they are performing their jobs or conducting a specific task in order to have a better understanding. And questionnaires and surveys, again another elicitation technique defined as a written set of questions designed to quickly accumulate information from a large number of respondents. I received one question in my PMI PBA exam asking about the surveys and the questionnaires and highlighting the key benefit of a technique that can be used to grab information from a large number of stakeholders in a short period of time. It's of course the questionnaires and surveys. So a written set of questions designed to quickly accumulate information from a large number of respondents. Surveys can be developed to elicit information about the current state, for example, areas where customers or business stakeholders may wish to see improvements or have concerns or existing problems. Tool number 6 in the assess current state process will be the glossary. In business analysis, a glossary provides a list of definitions for terms and acronyms about a specific product. A glossary should be started as early as possible in portfolio, program, or project analysis to support common language. Therefore, it's a technique that's commonly started with needs assessment activities. So as from the name, a glossary is a document which contains all the terms and acronyms that will be used in a project. A Pareto diagram, which is defined as a histogram that can be used to communicate the results of root cause analysis. Pareto diagrams are a special form of vertical bar chart used to emphasize the most significant factor among a set of data. So the Pareto diagram is a histogram, but it is intended to emphasize the most significant factor among a set of data. The vertical axis can depict any category of information that is important to the product team, such as cost or frequency, or consequences such as time or money, while the horizontal axis can display the categories of data being measured, for example, types of problems or cause categories. Here's an example of a Pareto diagram. The data results are displayed in a descending order, which easily draws attention to the problems, causes, or costs that have greatest significance and thereby require the most attention. The format of the Pareto diagram helps demonstrate the 80-20 principle, which is also known as the Pareto principle, whereby 80% of the problems can be related back to 20% of the causes. So by just looking at this histogram, you will know that it's A and B, or where the frequency of the problem is the largest. So you need to focus on A and B. This is the intention of having a Pareto diagram. It's a normal histogram while the data is shown in a descending order. The process flows, again another tool of the assess current state process, describes a business process and the ways stakeholders interact with those processes. Process flows can be used to document current as-is processes of the business. The diagrams provide visual context for discussions with stakeholders and the product team about how the existing environment performs its work. Now, the models can also be used to analyze the ways in which a process contributes to a given problem. Value stream maps, a variation of the process flows, can be used to identify process steps that add value and those that do not add value. The information can be used to identify areas where a process might be streamlined to eliminate inefficiencies. So the process flow or the process map is a tool that will show the steps which are required in order to perform a task and who is related or who is responsible to perform each step of this task. The value stream maps are variations of the process flows, but they are usually used in the continuous improvement or the process improvement projects or purposes, as it shows the steps that add value and the steps that does not add value, which you can eliminate or remove. Root cause and opportunity analysis. Now, once a situation is discovered, documented, and agreed upon, it needs to be analyzed before being acted upon. After the problem to be solved or the opportunity to pursue has been agreed upon, the problem or opportunity can be broken down into either the root causes or opportunity contributors so that a viable and appropriate solution can be recommended. So the root cause and opportunity analysis, as from the name, you will dig deep to find the actual root cause of a problem or the things that you need to think about or to consider while achieving or addressing an opportunity. Now, two techniques commonly used to perform the root cause analysis and opportunity analysis. Root cause analysis techniques used to determine the basic underlying reason for a variance, defect, or a risk. When applied to business problems, root cause analysis can be used to discover the underlying causes of a problem so that the solutions can be devised to reduce or eliminate them. So in the root cause analysis, we are just looking for the basic underlying reason for a problem. In the opportunity analysis, techniques used to study the major facets of a potential opportunity to determine the possible changes in products offered to enable its achievement. Opportunity analysis may require additional work to study the potential markets an organization may consider entering. Several techniques can be used to analyze root causes and opportunities, including, first of all, the fishbone diagram or the Ishikawa diagram. It's a version of a cause and effect diagram used to depict a problem and its root causes in a visual manner. These diagrams are snapshots of the current situation and high-level causes of why a problem is occurring. They help trace the undesirable effects of issues back to their root causes. Use of this technique helps the product team avoid jumping to a solution without understanding the true causes of why an issue is occurring. So as from the name, the fishbone diagram or the Ishikawa diagram will show the issue of or the problem you are trying to resolve at the head of the fish, and then you will start looking for the causes and the sub causes as shown in front of you right now. This is why it's called the fishbone diagram. It uses a fish image as shown, where the problem is listed as the head. Here is the problem, and here are the causes categories, and then you will go to the causes and the sub-causes. Causes are grouped into categories, and each grouping branches off from the backbone of the fish. Category names are placed in rectangular boxes to easily identify the grouping. So in this way, you will reach to the root cause or the basic underlying reason of an issue. Again, we have the interrelationship diagram, which is a special type of cause and effect diagram that depicts related causes and effects for a given situation. Interrelationship diagrams help uncover the most significant causes and effects involved in a situation. So while you are performing root cause analysis and opportunity analysis, you can rely on the fishbone diagram, the interrelationship diagram, in addition to the root cause and the opportunity analysis. Constructing an interrelationship diagram helps participants isolate each dimension of a problem individually without using a strict linear process. Focusing on the individual dimension allows participants to concentrate on and analyze manageable pieces of a situation. When the analysis is complete, the diagram sheds considerable light on the problem, but only after the entire diagram has been assembled. Here is an example of the interrelationship diagram which you can use in this process. And the last example will be the 5 whys technique, which is a technique that suggests anyone trying to understand the problem needs to ask why it's occurring up to 5 times in order to thoroughly understand the problem's causes. The technique does not advocate having a person literally ask the participant the question why 5 times, rather than promoting ongoing questioning to engage the participant in deeper levels of discussion provoked by more targeted questioning. So it's not just why. You need to dig deep with the person you are questioning in order to understand or in order to reach out to the root cause of this problem. The last technique of the assess current state process will be the SWOT analysis. It's a technique for analyzing the strengths, weaknesses of an organization, project or option, in addition to the opportunities and threats that exist externally. So internally we will look for strengths and weaknesses, and externally we will look for opportunities and threats. SWOT is a widely used tool to help understand high-level views surrounding a business need. SWOT can be used to create a structured framework for breaking down a situation into its root causes or contributors. SWOT investigates the situation internally and externally as follows. Internally, it shows where the organization has current strengths to help solve a problem or take advantage of an opportunity. It reveals or acknowledges weaknesses that need to be elevated to address a situation, while externally, it identifies potential opportunities in the external environment to mitigate a problem or seize an opportunity, and it shows threats in the market or external environment that could impede success in addressing the business need. So these are the results you might have of conducting the SWOT analysis technique. Here is an example of the SWOT analysis results, or the diagram that will be an output of conducting this technique. It will show the strengths and weaknesses internally to our organization and the opportunities and threats externally for the organization. Now, what are the outputs, or what is the key output of assessing the current state? We will have the current state assessment, which can be defined as an understanding of the current mode of operations, or the as-is state. This is the popular name or term used for the current state assessment. It's the as-is state of the organization. It's a culmination of the analysis results obtained from examination of the existing organizational environments. The as-is state of an organization. Typical information captured during the analysis of the current state might be a high-level overview of the existing business context. Examples include models and textual descriptions about existing business processes, key stakeholders, enterprise and business architectures, existing products, and how these items are impacted by the problem or opportunity presented in the situation statement. The current state assessment may be nothing more than an understanding of the current state and may not necessarily include formalized documentation. This will depend on the organization and the project life cycle the project is following, based on the size of the problem, the type and complexity of the project and industry, and various other factors like the ones I mentioned. It may not be necessary to document the results of the current state assessment. Now, tailoring considerations when it comes to following an adaptive or a predictive life cycle. In an adaptive life cycle, it's not necessarily a formally named process. It's performed as part of the initial planning or iteration 0, which is the first iteration on the project, while in a predictive environment, it is named or as the assess current state or the as-is analysis. For some firms, the assess current state is known as the as-is, and the determine future state is known as the to-be. Now, the approach as-is analysis can be performed throughout the project, as each iteration may focus the as-is discussion on a slice of the overall context. The as-is environment will continue to change and therefore will need to be continually assessed to understand how changes in the current state might impact proposed work within the backlog. While in a predictive or a waterfall environment, as-is analysis is performed upfront as a starting point to provide context for future business analysis work. If a recent current state assessment is available, it may be possible to leverage historical information and avoid conducting another current state assessment. The deliverables in an adaptive environment, just enough modeling in order to move forward on discussions regarding the future state, the scope of analysis, and hence the deliverables are focused on the context necessary for the early iteration only, to provide context when developing a lightweight business case. While in a waterfall environment, as-is models may be completed to a detailed level. Models constructed may cover the entire problem space up front before requirements elicitation begins, may include models produced in a process modeling tool. The information assembled from the current state assessment may be packaged into a current state assessment document leveraging a standardized template. This is usually happens in a predictive life cycle. It's more formal. It's not lightweight as the adaptive or the agile environment. Collaboration will be business stakeholders will contribute deep business knowledge and provide a holistic view of the current state, including historical information that the business analyst needs to start the current state assessment. So usually the collaboration here will be between the business analyst and the business stakeholders. This is all for the assess current state process.